And Mr. Collins, has the committee moved along enough to know which way they're going to recommend?
We have just gotten started.
Just
So
clarifying.
we have not moved it
Just
along
clarifying.
at all,
Okay.
nearly enough to know or to say that it's not feasible. We're in the process right now.
Okay. Mr. Sapia?
So at our first meeting, there were many people in the audience that said, this is where the fight's going to be, this is where this is going to be, and everyone's gearing up for the fight. For all we know, the facts will bring us all to the same conclusion.
Right.
Right.
We simply don't know that. And people are making assumptions and are name-calling, which is usually a basis of having no argument or no point at all, which I don't find respectful. Let the committee do its work.
Right.
Let's find out, and for all we know, we all may come to exactly the same
Exactly.
conclusion.
All right. So I think we've really come to an end of this topic. Mrs. Green?
Thank you. I'd like to correct some inaccuracies in Mr. Collins' statement. The RSA does address minority committee, and a minority committee does need to be formed immediately because it is possible, you're very right, Mr. Sapia, it's possible with all the information we will both come to the same conclusion. But what if in 180 days, this committee finally gets around to putting out its recommendation, and then all of a sudden Sandown says, hey, we don't agree with that. Our time frame has closed, and there wouldn't be there wouldn't be an opportunity to put in a minority report. They have to go hand in hand, side by side, in case there's a difference of opinion in the final conclusion. And furthermore, that committee is not the only official committee that has a right to information from this district. In fact, any member of the public has a right to every bit of information that Sandown is asking for.
I don't think you heard any person on this board disagree with that.
Right.
No, those
You can go
are
find-
simple right-to-know requests. That's
Exactly.
what they are. You
No,
just-
they are not, and you know that is disingenuous because they're not necessarily something off of a form. They need some thought and some assembly.
We put a
so-
lot of thought and assembly
So-
into right-to-know requests.
I'd like to make a motion.
That is so disingenuous. Please, Dr. Metzler, don't,
It's not.
please.
It's really not.
Please.
And just to be clear, there is no mention of the minority committee in any of the RSA that's written about this.
Right. I'm
At all.
aware.
That is
Thank you.
absolutely not true.
Mr.
Well, find
Sapia?
it for me.
I'm going to make a motion in a moment, and what I'd like to do, because we ran into this last year, and we hear all this concern about the taxpayers, and we're always looking out for the taxpayers' interest and saving them money. So we go through these exercises on these right-to-knows, and this endless work that Mr. Stokinger and that everybody puts in. I would like to have a log of every employee and the
Go ahead. We're way off topic.
well, no,
Way
it's
off topic.
exactly to the right to know, and it's exactly
Well, what
the
do-
amount of work and energy that goes into what's being asked for. And I want to make a motion that we log the time of every employee, every piece of equipment used on these rights to know, so we can budget it properly for next year. So
Just from a practical
Why don't you-
standpoint?
yeah, why don't you?
That's more work too, Jack.
Exactly.
no,
And so the law, we follow the law, and that's why we charge, it's 50 cents a page, and you can't charge for the time, but you can charge
Right.
for the copies.
But my point is, and we ran into this when I was a selectman in Atkinson, the time that we spend doing this, which is required by law, no disagreement there, we should do it, we have to do it. But when it becomes overwhelming, we're not doing the work of the district while they're doing that. So it really impacts the taxpayers dramatically,
You've made your
the
point.
production.
You've
Thank
made
you.
your point, but Dr. Metzler is saying that the time and cost of documentation outweighs the benefit of the documentation.
That's more time you're spending on it.
Right.
That's what he's saying.
I'm just thinking a lot.
I know.
Spent 4 hours this, boom, one line.
Let's move on.
George.
All right. I'd really love to move on. I think we've hashed this quite a bit. Is that all to your administrator's report this evening?
I just wanted to be clear on the direction from the board, so there's no surprises,
Right, I
so
think we're clear.
we're clear. And
There wasn't a vote. We're not
We
clear
didn't
at
ask
all.
for a vote.
There's no motion, right?
No motion,
was
no
a-
vote. It was a recommendation.
There's no clear, no. As far as I'm concerned, you are to
Would you
provide
please raise
everything
your
you're
hand if
asked
you want to be
for.
acknowledged?
Yeah, I don't work just for you, Mrs. Green, I work for the board, that's why I'm asking the board.
You work for the taxpayers.
I actually work for the board. They represent the taxpayers.
We are taxpayers.
And they're taxpayers too, as am I.
Mr. Collins, you had your hand up, and I appreciate that. Would
No,
you
I-
like to-
I just think that the process is in place right now for anyone from Sandown to request information through the committee that's already formed by this board.
Right.
And then if the committee says, we don't need that information, they can then go and make a right to know request.
Exactly.
And I think that would be the process for anybody involved in this.
Mhm.
From Sandown, from Atkinson, from Danville, from Plastow, anybody.
And that is being an information Nazi. That's what
Mrs.
that
Green,
is.
what is
outrageous
Mrs. Green, what is unclear to you about asking to be acknowledged before you speak? Mr. Collins.
Thank you. I see it actually as more of providing an easy avenue to information, because the alternative is to do a right to know request and pay the fees. But if someone from Plastow comes and says, you know what, I think it's important that you look at this information and make it public, and the committee agrees, then we would do that. So I don't think it's being an information Nazi. I think it's actually inviting people to enhance the process, and at the same time respecting the time and efforts of the individuals in the SAU that need to collect the data.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to move on.